Hello everyone, this is Vancha March of sheetmusicsinger. Today I'd like to talk to you about how I go about making videos and recordings for sheetmusicsinger. So when you first download a MIDI from sheetmusicsinger.com and you open it, it'll look something like this. Now this is for GarageBand in particular, which comes with MacBooks. So it may look different for you, but for GarageBand this is what you get. Now, James Pitt Payne, who makes our MIDIs, has an older software that he uses, and sometimes things get kind of weird in translation, so I'll show you how to deal with that. You'll see, for example, that this track has practically zero volume, negative 38, and so you can just delete that, and this string ensemble has nothing, so you can just delete that, and there's no actual sound for these two tracks, so you can delete those as well. That's normally what you can do, is delete the top two and top bottom tracks. Next, you'll notice that the volume is way up and the pan for each track is different. Now you can leave them like that if you want. Personally, I prefer to change them, and if you do want to change them, you press the A key and then you come and click Enable Automation. And what that allows you to do is to change the tracks. Then you can just press A again. So you come to here, you can slide it all the way down to 0, which is neutral. It's not 0 volume, it's 0 increased, so it's neutral. And then you slide the pan to 0, or alternatively, you could just double click and type in the desired amount. Now again, this isn't something you have to do, that's just my personal preferences. Now that you have these tracks, you can just come to here, click this Add button, record using a microphone, make sure that's selected, and then click Create. And I like to drag this up here so it's the top track, and bam. If you have a microphone, you're ready to record. Sometimes you may notice that there's a wrong note put in the MIDI. This is pretty rare, but occasionally it happens. And what you would do to fix that is just select a track. The 4 tracks are usually here, the tune / higher treble part, then the harmony or middle low treble part, and then 2 bass parts. So if you think that there's a wrong note in the tune, for example, then you would press the N key, and then it opens up this. And you can actually adjust this. For example, if this is supposed to be, an F sharp, you can slide it up. But of course, if you make a mistake, you can always do Command Z to fix that. But if you, for example, need to make this a longer note and you can't really do it on the score very well, then you can go to piano roll. Let's say you need this note to be twice as long. Then you can just click and extend it like that. And of course, as always, if you make a mistake, you can just use Command Z to fix it. And then close this whole section by pressing N again, twice. So yeah, that should be pretty rare, but if there's something that needs to be changed, you can do it that way. Before you start recording, I recommend warming up by singing through the song several times. That way you really get the tune in your head, and if there are any confusing sections or sections that are difficult to you, you can work on them that way. And then once you feel ready to record, make sure you have selected the audio track like this, not a MIDI track, but a vocal audio track. And you just press record, or press the R key, whichever you want. When you are done recording, press the record button again, or R again, and it will stop recording. So I haven't done the whole song, just a part. So you may notice that if you start at the beginning, there's this long part of silence and before you get to the singing. I usually take that out so there's no background noise. I mean, this little blip right here is probably me clearing my throat or something. So you just drag it over here, and you always click here, for example, so that you can listen to it and make sure that there's no extraneous or extra noises that you want. And if, for example, you notice that there's a sound like a intake of breath that's too loud or distracting, or background noise or something in between sections where you sing, then you can click here, just press Command T, and then you can drag this way, and then that will be out. But again, you'll want to make sure that you listen to it first and make sure that it's not awkward, like it cuts off in the middle of a breath, which sounds really strange and obvious. And so then you can adjust it however you want. You can use your touchpad to zoom in and have a little more detail there. But again, you'll always want to listen to it first. And if there's a section that you're not very happy with, let's say you messed up the notes in this section, you don't have to do the whole song again. You can just click right here, just a little before you start singing, then you can press R or the record button, and then you will be able to re-record this section, and again, you just press the record section whenever you're done. So let me give an example. La 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 la. I don't know, just for an example. And then if you, for example, you don't want this part to have been re-recorded, then you just click right here and just drag it back so the original is restored. So yeah, those are some tips about how to record with GarageBand, especially managing the vocal. The most important thing is really to just listen to it a couple of times to make sure that the recording is just how you want it to sound. Once you're satisfied with the recording that you've done, then you go up to Share, Export Song to Disk, and then you type in whatever title you want, and then you click Export, and then it will be converted into an MP3 track, which will then be put on your desktop, and then you can use that later. The next thing that we'll do is snippets from sheet music. Alright, so the MP3 has been created. Now what we're going to learn about is how to take selective screenshots of the music. What I usually do first is make it full screen like this. Then in order to take a selective screenshot, click Command-Shift-4. And then the screenshot will be whatever you select. For example, you click and drag. Now the screenshot is just this section here. So I'm going to put that in the trash because that's just an example. So again, Command-Shift-4. And for the title card, you start in the corner, you click and drag, and that's about good. Let's actually right-click and put on single page continuous. I find that's easiest to work with. So when you take screenshots, selective screenshots of the sheet music, I usually like to have two systems per screenshot. So for example, that would be these. But for this particular song, there's only 3 systems on the page. So I'll just take the first system with the title up here, and then I'll come down here a little bit, keep scrolling down, next page. Again, I prefer to do 2 systems per screen capture because that just is a good size. You don't have to switch them too often in the video, but it's also not all so much that it's hard to see. And just last one right here. There we go. I'm here on iMovie, which is the native video editor for Mac. You may be using a different program, but a lot of the principles are the same. So I'm here in iMovie, and it says drag and drop video clips and photos from the browser above to start creating your movie. So one way you can do this is just go to Finder, find the screenshots that you took. You can press space if you want to preview them. Yep, that's the start of my screenshots. And then I select all my screenshots by shift clicking. And I also have this thing called Sheet Music Card, which is what I put at the end of all of my videos. It's a little advertisement for Sheet Music Singer I put at the end. So I click and drag. Now you may notice that they're all sort of zooming in and out in weird ways. Just select all of these clips and click Reset All. And that way, there's no more motion anymore. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is select the first or almost all of the clips except for the first two. Go to Transitions and double click on Wipe Right. The title card and the final card should always be about 4 seconds long. So I click and drag this because sometimes otherwise it won't let you change this to 3 seconds for the transition, apply to all. So now there's a 3-second wipe right transition between cards. Let me show you an example. Now always time it so that as the notes are ending, you can see the start of the next section of music. And you can look at lots of examples of videos that I've made to see what I typically do. Although, of course, you don't have to use transitions if you don't want to. That's just my preferred way of doing it. I forgot to put in the audio example, so here we go. So anyway, let's say you've done all this, you've edited your video, and let's say this is the end now. I usually take out the transitions so that you have the end of the song that goes for a little while, and then the sheet music card for 4 seconds. That's how I prefer to do it. Once you've done this, you go to this button right here, click Export File, and then you save it as whatever you want. And then you just click Next, and then it'll say where you want to save it to desktop, and you will click Save. Then the file is on your desktop, and you can email it to Fred, and he will put it on the channel. So yeah, that about wraps up how to make a recording and a video for sheetmusicsinger. Again, the key is just to go over the recording several times to make sure it's just how you want it to sound, and to watch the video several times to make sure that it's just how you want it to look. Thank you for listening.